This is all within theoretical limits.
Half-Life's really good. A big part of the series' long-lasting following, I think, is how open the engine is to fans making new content, whether that's a deathmatch map or a whole different player experience. There have been some really ambitious projects over the years, but there are also many that fall into obscurity or just fall flat on their face. Somewhere in the midst of all this is Half-Life Before. If you don't recognize that name, here's the gist of it. Half-Life Before is a mod meant to show some secretive events prior to the Black Mesa incident, made by a single developer in their free time. The mod was first published to ModDB in 2009, and later to Steam through the Greenlight program in 2013. After being added to Steam, the game was panned pretty hard for its storyline, amount of content, and end boss, along with some errors in the developer's English. Half-Life Before is currently bagged about a 70% negative rating on Steam, and holds a page on the Crappy Games wiki, so suffice to say it has a mixed reputation. So what's the story here? What makes this mod that infamous? This video will be half a playthrough and analysis of gameplay, and half putting together the story behind the mod itself. But before we get in the game, here's a little info on the creator. This mod is made by Andrii Vincevich, also active under the username of Gua, who published the game under the imprint of CreaShock Studios. There's only one other game published by CreaShock on Steam, which appears to be some kind of psychic ability RNG thing, but there's more to the creator than that for sure. Gua was an active Counter-Strike mapper back in the early mid-2000s, meaning Half-Life Before was made with some definite past experience with the Gold Source engine. There's more info on the story behind this game that I found, but we'll talk about that more after we finish playing it. So, what is Gua's personal storyline for how the Resonance Cascade came to be? According to the game's documentation, your name is Andrew Winter, a Black Mesa scientist sent into an alternate dimension to obtain an artifact that could help the research facility enter another world, presumably Zen. It's best not to question how they figured out the ability to travel to alternate universes before getting access to Zen in particular. Your mission is to get in this alternate universe, get the artifact, and get out in one piece. Your search for the artifact brings you aboard a cargo ship for a research facility called Blackrock. Standard alternate universe fare, you know. This cargo ship is holding dangerous genetic material, and it looks like things have gotten ugly, complete with some familiar enemies. So now we get to show them how we do things at Black Mesa. Side note, the rain effect here is made possible through the mod running off Spirit of Half-Life, a modified version of the Gold Source engine, allowing for quick and nice looking visual effects like that. Also, the game contains music that you cannot turn off from the options. Instead, you have to rename the fmod folder to something else in the game's internal files. Your mission begins here. You teleport onto the far side of the ship and... this is already a problem. Headcrabs are usually meant to be small, low damage but high annoyance enemies that punish you for going into a spot without looking first. Here, it's just something to make you eat a medkit as soon as you get control of your character. Right off the bat, you get a crowbar, a pistol, each with nice custom models, an SMG, and a mounted turret you can use to wipe out all the zombies in your way and then some. The difficulty here is lowballed to ease you into the mod, of course, but it feels like a lot to give the player a few seconds in. You can mow down the zombies for fun, but you can just as easily walk past them after maybe sniping the bull squid. The mod has a fast sense of progression that tries to fit in a lot of the FPS formula into a condensed package. You get a weapon, you get some enemies to mow down, you get a bigger weapon, you get more enemies to mow down. Here you get the shotgun and the snarks, find a bit more lore with the game hinting about an escaped gen mod experiment, who was apparently powerful enough to need isolated containment but was being held in a wooden box, solve a quick puzzle by moving a box to reach your next destination, and fight off an alien grunt guarding a new weapon. Here you're given some hound eyes, some grenades, and a bunch of turrets guarding the next area. You can use the grenades against the turrets, or simply wait for them to deactivate after taking care of the hound eyes. After making your way past the turrets and a trip mine, you enter an indoors segment of the map, taking a minute away from the action to create a bit of a horror environment that works pretty well. As a twist in the middle of another quick puzzle, you are introduced to the military enemies, presumably there to clean up anything that could escape, like the HECU in the Black Mesa universe. You get hit with another head crab and climb up a broken elevator shaft to the control room of the ship, where you have a very close range fight with a few more grunts and then snarks? You can either spin around the room trying to avoid them, try shooting them, or just go outside and hang on to the ladder. Once they blow up, you're free to enter the next room and... Is that the Nineland? It is the Nineland. The next room has you meet the one living person left on the ship, a scientist who explains that all these creatures escaped containment because of that gen mod thing they were keeping in a crate somewhere, and gives you access to the cargo bay of the ship close to where you first teleported in. Now your goal is to fight your way back across the ship as stronger enemies block your path. It's a neat concept, even if by the time you fight the few more enemies, you have enough firepower and knowledge of the map to avoid them or quickly dispose of them. This also means if you skipped a lot of enemies on the way there, they'll be waiting for you on the way back. I should say this is actually enjoyable so far for a map. The location is unique, it all looks nice, and any qualms I've had so far are related to story or difficulty. Now I just have to jump down here to get the artifact and... Yeah, this is where things get awkward. This guy's a Nineland with a barnacle for a mouth. If it catches you, you get launched back to the start of the fight. It can break through cover as well, which is neat. It looks goofy as hell, but I guess it works. Run in circles, empty a few magazines into the thing with every weapon you step on, and the artifact is yours. You're rewarded with a neat moving credit sequence panning out to where the Zen crystal is now being held, so it can wreak havoc sometime later. It's got some weird English and a few jagged edges to it, but for a mod made by one person casually, it's a neat experience if you consider it less of a mod and more of a demo of a game that never came out. Considering what's there, it's pretty nice. Emphasis on for what's there though, since it's a mod that can take you about 10 to 15 minutes to beat for the first time, and 3 minutes to beat if you're speedrunning it. As of this video, I'm currently number 1 in the United States in speedrunning this game. Not something I expected. So why go through all the trouble of making an essentially one-map mod? Turns out the game wasn't made to be released on its own at all. Half-Life Before was actually made as part of a collaborative Russian map pack project titled Project CSM, where participants would create small individual experiences that would tie together through teleports, kinda like the whole Half-Life Towers mods. The project was proposed on a Russian Counter-Strike mapping forum in 2008, but unfortunately never came to fruition. This led GUA to release his work individually as Half-Life Before. That's a bit of context I haven't seen brought up anywhere when talking about this game, but it explains the one map size and the dense pacing really well. Knowing the project was abandoned, I'm glad the content was released somewhere as opposed to simply being lost to time. Generally, I would say this isn't a bad project. It certainly isn't mod-sized and would be much more suited for a part of a larger project like it was intended for, but for what it's worth, it's nicely put together. And I would be interested to see GUA work with Half-Life again in the future. Really, I've seen worse before. I would end the video here, but as kind of a bonus, I found an older version of Half-Life Before on the ModDB page from about 2009, and wanted to show off some of the big differences. Making a note before I begin, this version was released with full and light releases of the same mod. The full version has a soundtrack and uses HT models, while the light version uses mostly the original models and lacks the soundtrack. My footage will be of the full version. The title screen was redesigned between versions, simplifying the design and adding a CreaShock Studios logo. The soundtrack to the game was changed between versions, since the old non-Steam version had stuff from the System Shock 2 soundtrack and Linkin Park, Yeah, that would have been a hard sample to clear. The black rock flag was given some extra shading in the later version. This platform you spawn on was originally slightly floating, something that was fixed on the Steam version. However, the SMG underneath the platform was not moved, making it invisible to the player but still obtainable. The later version of the mod added a few bonus items throughout the map, including 2 batteries and the hive hand. The animation of lightning striking the ship and causing boxes to fall was simplified in the later version for unknown reasons. This trip mine was originally connected to the door in a way that made it a lot harder to shoot. A pile of what used to be people was mostly removed in the later version, with the box being moved to make it being pushable more obvious. The animation of the merc kicking down the door was upgraded as well. The first version of the mod included a custom revolver model that was removed in later versions. This room originally had 4 mercs, which was lowered to 3 in the later version. Also, there was originally a magazine here you could open praising the developer and talking about the Project CSM that never came to fruition. This whole set of rooms up here is a main point of redesign for the Steam version. A Ukrainian flag and a Ships for Dummies book were both removed. And a magazine was re-added to the Steam version showing off some of the developer's other games. Finally, the scientist's voice lines were originally much different, being redubbed with an English voice actor later on.
Stop! Don't kill me! I think I know what you need. Come with me. I will activate the front cargo lift. The edge effect will be on a lower level.
Stop! Don't kill me! I think I know what you need. Just come with me. I'll activate a main cargo lift. The artifact will be on the lower level.
Generally, it works nicer than before. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video. I've been meaning to talk about this project for a while now, so putting this together has been fun. I would recommend checking the mod out if you're curious and want a kinda light snack of a game experience, or want to try speedrunning it, which I found fun. Thanks once again for watching this far, and hope you all enjoyed.